So a couple of weeks ago, we had a guy on named Jeffrey Parker. He is the CEO and chairman of Parker Vision. He was making allegations that Qualcomm was in bed with the government and had screwed Parker Vision, because what Parker Vision had done is come up with a chip that allows all of our phones and everything else to connect to Bluetooth. They went into negotiation with Qualcomm, had all kinds of NDAs with them, and had to show them the technology, and suddenly the deal fell apart. And then just a couple of years later, Qualcomm comes out with this amazing new technology that can connect everybody's phones and other things to Bluetooth. The story only gets more twisted and turned when you run into Eric Holder and the DOJ, and a jury that says Qualcomm took this technology, and a judge who says, I'm going to sentence Qualcomm and talk about the penalties. And a month later, the judge overturns the jury and says, no, Qualcomm didn't do anything wrong. There's some weird stuff going on. Now, here's the update. Qualcomm freaked out about his appearance on this program, and they filed a cease and desist against Jeff Parker and told him not to speak out again. And we called him, and he said, I tell you what, why don't you book me for the show? I'll show you how much ceasing and desisting I'm going to be doing. Jeff Parker is with us. Jeff, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Glenn. I'm fine, thanks.
So let's go over the part just quickly about you sign a cease and desist. All of a sudden, 2 years later, your technology is introduced by Qualcomm. They pretend as though, no, we did. What are you talking about? That's not your technology. That's our technology. You take him to court. Jury rules in your favor, unanimous. The judge says, I'm going to apply penalties. Then a couple of weeks after that, Qualcomm has a fundraiser for Barack Obama. The head of Qualcomm has it at his house. Obama shows up. Then a couple of days after that, they start, the DOJ under Eric Holder starts to probe your website. Finish that story.
Sure. So thanks for having me back again. So
you bet.
Yeah. So we win a unanimous jury verdict. We come back to the courthouse after that jury verdict, and the judge hears the parties argue about what should happen next. And after listening to the arguments, the judge says, you know what? There is certainly going to be an ongoing royalty here, which is, what Qualcomm would have to pay us for the continued use of our patents and our technology. Right. And we are all excited. We leave the courthouse. A few days after that, we have a visit to our website by the White House, the executive office of the president of the White House. Just a few days before that visit, there's a fundraiser at the head of Qualcomm's home, one of the co-founders' homes, and raising money for the DNC. And after that fundraiser, a few days later, there's this visit from the executive office of the president. And about a month after that is when the judge issued his final order, after having indicating before that his final order was going to include royalties. He not only didn't include royalties, he reversed the jury verdict and threw the case out.
Unbelievable. So Eric Holder was at the DOJ at the time. You start getting visits on your website, and you can track all of this. You have all of this.
Yes.
Eric Holder and the DOJ start to visit your website, and it's only about this litigation. That's the only part they do. And lo and behold, we find out that Eric Holder, before he went to the DOJ, he worked for Qualcomm's largest lobbying firm. When he left the DOJ, guess where he went? Back to Qualcomm's largest lobbying firm.
Correct.
So you're on the program, you lay all this out, and now what has happened?
So we're on your program about 2 weeks ago, and literally, Glenn, the next day, Qualcomm contacts our attorneys, and they say, if your client doesn't remove his social media, and furthermore, agree not to do any more social media, we're going to file a motion with the court to gag him, to have this court take down the social media and prevent further conversation. And of course, my attorneys are handling a patent case. So they say to me, we're not really experts in First Amendment rights, freedom of speech rights. Could you
Right.
please find an attorney who can help you with this? And so I ended up reaching out, and we engaged Mark Kasowitz of his firm. And the Kasowitz firm is a very fine law firm that handles these types of areas and many other areas of law. But Mark Kasowitz, yeah,
He's done a lot of work for Trump, has he? Has he not?
he has. Mark,
Yeah, huh.
Mark has handled a lot of President Trump's legal issues over the years. And
Okay. All right.
I approached Mark, and he heard this request from Qualcomm, and he said, outrageous. He said, this is ridiculous. They can't gag you. So a couple days later, Qualcomm, in fact, filed a formal motion with the court that said,
Yeah.
take down your social media and stop adding additional social media. And we were actually getting ready to file our opposition, but we first wanted to wait and see what the court was going to do. And a few days later, the court, finding this motion, frankly, meritless and without any basis for what they were asking for, ruled at the end of last week, just this last Friday, no, Qualcomm, you don't get that request. So that
It's
was
absolutely-
good. That was good to hear.
That's fantastic. It's fantastic. By the way, I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this, but I will bet you that our new director of the FBI and our new head of the DOJ saw that Blaze article that lays all of this out. I'm just saying that might have
Well,
happened.
Glenn, I hope so. I mean, look,
Yeah.
what Qualcomm has accused us of is trying to taint a jury pool. We don't even have a trial date yet set for this case. So how are we going to taint a jury pool? But the thing that's really frustrating is the way they characterized our social media and what we're saying is just completely false. Can I give you an example? So an example of their characterization is they say Parker Vision disparages the judicial process in the Middle District of Florida and maligns the fairness of the forum. Namely, Parker Vision impugns Judge Dalton's ruling in the prior Parker Vision trial, falsely claiming that he improperly reversed the jury's verdict as a result of collusion between Qualcomm and the administration of then President Barack Obama. Well, let me tell you, that's not true. What Parker Vision is doing is bringing public just facts. We're simply bringing facts. Here's the facts. The facts are the Department of Justice has been on our website 37 times. We discovered shortly before our first trial, all the way until 2022, when I filed a Freedom of Information Act request asking, hey, Department of Justice, what are you doing on our website? Why are you on our website so many days at the same time looking at the same pages as Qualcomm? Hey, what's this White House visit we had? Why were you only looking at litigation against Qualcomm on our patents? What's that about? We've never had that fulfilled. So I'm not drawing any conclusions what this means. I'm simply stating the facts. The facts are these visits happened, and we think we have a right to know what they're all about. That's what we're asking for.
Yeah. They're very suspicious, but that doesn't mean anything happened. But it is, I mean, you know, there's enough there, not beyond a reasonable doubt, but there's enough there to go, you know, we should probably ask some questions
Yes,
here.
exactly.
There was a short seller. Can you tell me about the short seller? What's his name? Farmwald?
Yes. So,
Their name?
Yes. So, when Qualcomm accuses us of trying to influence a jury, again, a date hasn't even been set for a trial, it's pretty rich, Glenn, because back in our first trial, there was this persistent short seller who had been out posting on the financial message boards again and again and again, trying to drive our stock price down. Our patents are no good. We don't have anything, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you, from the time we filed this case against Qualcomm in 2011 until we won the jury verdict in 2013, over 2 years, he posted 200 times. Every business day he posted, and he posted predictions. The patents would fall. They didn't. The patent case wouldn't go forward. It did. Oh, even if we won, we'd only win $10 or $11 million. He was only off by a factor of almost 20. I mean, it went on and on and on. But here's the real punchline. We got to depose this guy and subpoena his emails because after Qualcomm lost the case, he filed challenges to our patents, which we found kind of suspicious. And guess what we figured out in deposition of this guy? Guess who he'd been working with when we filed our lawsuit against Qualcomm? Qualcomm. And
so do we have payments, or how do you mean working?
Well, it turns out that Qualcomm was paying some of his lawyers' bills because he was worried, apparently, about us suing him for something. I mean, if you're not doing anything wrong, what are you worried about? But he was worried about that. So he went to Qualcomm and he said, look, I'm not looking for you to pay me directly, but pay my legal bills. And our attorney said to him, so you don't consider that to be some compensation? No, I don't consider that to be any compensation. The point, though, is
why would he need his legal bills? This is, if I'm not mistaken, this is years before, 3 years before you knew that they were infringing, right?
Yes. So we believe that he actually started communicating with them even before we filed our lawsuit. So there's a lot of fishy things here, but to keep it to the point of Qualcomm's motion to try to get us to be gagged, it's pretty interesting that they be so willing to work with a party whose only mission was to put out mischaracterizations and falsehoods about Parker Vision, its patents, its technologies, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But then they turn around and accuse us of exactly what they were supporting back during the trial.
All right. Let me see this full screen here. My gosh, they are freaked out about you being on this program.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
You seem to be all over that document.
Yeah, I know.
Look, they say I have no basis for thinking that Qualcomm has taken our technology to China. I mean, you're kidding. Here's an article, Glenn, I found, 2017 New York Times, how this U.S. tech giant is backing China's tech ambitions. Interesting article. People should go read it. 2019, Xinhua Net of Asia. Interview, Qualcomm president says China to lead the world in 5G scale. Look, I understand why Qualcomm wants to be a big player in China. It's a big market, but we have to do this smartly. We can't just put engineering facilities there, teach the Chinese how to develop their own products, and then expect for the long haul that we're going to be anything other than from the outside looking in. I mean, their Belt and Road Initiative is being helped by big tech companies right here from the United States. It's insane.
So when do you suppose you are going to are you going to file and go to court again? I know you've been waiting like 11 years.
Well, we have a case. It is, by the way, one of the other things Qualcomm mischaracterized is in our first video, they say, oh, Jeff Parker says we've been waiting 10 years for our case, somehow indicating that there's something I feel is nefarious. No, I didn't say anything was nefarious. What I said was it's been let me tell you why it's in 10 years. Qualcomm filed challenges to the validity of our patents. That ate up 4 years. Then they had a couple other ridiculous motions, which took the judge a year or two to sort through. Now we're up to 6 years. Then we had the pandemic. That was another 2 years. The point is, it's been a long time, and all we're asking for is our day in court with a jury who can hear our case and make a decision. We think we have a compelling case to the jury. And the judge right now is considering when to set the trial date. We're hoping it's going to be early to middle, maybe this fall of this year, but soon, very soon.
Well, we will continue to follow the case. Are you releasing another video?
We just released another video this morning, and that video talks about the benefit of the technology, our interaction with Qualcomm, how we took this technology to them. I hope people will go to Against Giants and watch the video. I think they'll find it highly informative.
You'll find it at Twitter at @against_giants. That's at @against_giants. Make sure you check that out and share it with a friend. Share it with the DOJ, the FBI, with anybody that you feel would have interest in this. I think this is something that should be looked into. And if there was corruption, it needs to be routed out. People need to go to jail if they did wrong. And the patents need to be set right. If we can't count on our patents as small business people,
Absolutely.
which Jeff Parker is and Parker Vision is, if we can't count that those patents can be held by small people against these giants, we've got nothing in America. We have nothing.
Totally.
This is David versus Goliath, and they deserve their fair shake in a courtroom. Jeffrey, thank you so
Glenn,
much.
thank you for having me back. Appreciate it.
You bet. ParkerVision.com. ParkerVision.com. Twitter at @against_giants. By the way, I invite Qualcomm to come on and tell us their side of the story. I mean, we're only hearing one side of the story, so I invite them to come on. That document that I showed you, it wasn't the actual ruling. It was the lawyers of Qualcomm freaking out about this program and having Jeff Parker on. Well, come on. I'd love to. In fact, I'd love to invite the guy who invented the tech that appears to be exactly the same as Qualcomm, because he probably remembers. He was standing up on a stool and then he hit his head on the medicine cabinet, and that's when he came up with the the thing for Bluetooth. So I'd love to talk.
Flux capacitor,
if you invented
Bluetooth,
he'd remember it.
Sure.
He'd remember that moment that he changed the world. So I'd love to talk to him too.
Yeah.
So anyway, Qualcomm, you're welcome at any time. Call us, because I know you're listening.